Hey, and welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 20. Today we got a couple more special guests. We got the Grewsome2some brothers with Matt and Jeff, and then the usual crew of myself, Graham, Luke, Richie, and Cody. And I think we're just I got a lot of questions for you guys, and I'm sure the rest of us do as well after watching a few of your videos. And just the general vibe is it's you guys have a very similar mentality when it comes to Cherokees that to us. So it's kind of fun to see that created in video form. So I guess we'll just fire some questions off and see where it goes.
I think the first one would be, because we're doing a podcast and we're not on YouTube, what are the rigs?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Tell us a little.
There's a couple. How do you want to define rigs? Like strictly wheelers or like the fleet? How do you want to do this?
Let's start with the wheelers, and then we'll expand to the fleet.
Okay. So if you guys have seen my YouTube, I have a 96 Cherokee two-door. It's been modified over the years. Turbo, 1 ton. It's still a 4.0. I also have a 85 F250. That's not too much of a wheeler, but one of those. And then Jeff's got a couple of toys.
Yeah, so my wheeler is an 89 Cherokee two-door. Obviously, we like our two-doors. I don't know what it is. They just look cooler.
What? Whoa!
I take offense.
Come on now, coming in just smacking.
I don't take offense to that. Two-doors are cooler, but not everybody can have a two-door.
Also, the back seats, the back four-door doors are just so worthless. Only a child can really get into them. So
I take it you listened to the rant on the last podcast about that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can agree with that. Absolutely, that the rear doors are the most useless things known to mankind. And yes, I did take out my rear seat, so it's kind of like a 2-4 door at this point. But
exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, Jeff started out with a 4-door, and we did it for years. It's not the end of the world. It's a Cherokee, at least,
Yeah, it's just
exactly.
As cool, I guess. Right?
So why to you guys did you start out? Like, did you start out with Cherokees, or like why now are you running Cherokees?
So it started with me when I wanted my first vehicle. I wanted a Nissan 300ZX so bad.
Ooh, okay.
And my parents said, absolutely not. You're not allowed to have a two-door sports car. The insurance is going to be insane. It's New Jersey, blah, blah, blah. So I started looking at other vehicles, and, Cherokees caught my eye. They were relatively inexpensive at the time, so I found one up the street. I knocked on the lady's door. I said, I want to buy your Jeep. Bought the Jeep, and immediately was having transfer case problems. It wouldn't shift into 4 high at all.
Oh.
So my father said, let's go down to the local guy that, he knew that works on Jeeps. And, 3 times at the garage later, the problem wasn't fixed. And he eventually threw a transfer case in it. And, $3,000 later, I got the old transfer case home, took it apart, and saw the shift pin was broken in it. And I was like, this guy told me he took it apart every time. Why are you gonna tell me? Whatever, it doesn't matter. So I took it apart, figured out that something was wrong, and said, I'm never letting anyone touch a vehicle again of mine. And it started from there. So, fixing things turned into modifying things, and then, I don't know, that push to just keep progressing.
Yeah, it's funny how that little bug bites you. Me and Richie, I was 16. I bought a 89 Cherokee for like $350 because I started watching Mad Ram videos, and I'm like, I want to go play in the woods.
Yeah.
And suddenly that became welding in floor pans. Well, I'd never welded before, but my dad had a 140 Lincoln machine, so fuck it, I'm learning to weld. And then, I'm going to lift it. Okay, cool. Then I blew the leaf spring through the body, and I was like, fuck this, and here we go. Up to my current 97
Mhm.
Cherokee.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Jeff
Exactly.
and I got started the same way. It was like we wanted to do certain modifications, certain things, and it was like we're not going to pay a shop to do it because at the end of the day, it's a $500 Cherokee, but we want these modifications done. So it's like you just got to learn how to do it at that point. And that was the fire, the fire under our ass to
Yep.
start learning, and it really it blew the door open on what what you can do.
Another thing with Cherokees is they are, whether or not you want to agree, they are the Honda Civics of the Jeep world.
Yep.
So, everyone does the same things, 3-inch 31s, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And, every time we get a Jeep, we don't like doing the same thing over and over again. Like I said before, coming back to progression, let's do something different, I wanted to put a turbo on the Renix motor really bad, but at the end of the day, I think it's smarter that I go in a different direction. I throw an LS in because it's not the same as my brother's.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The for me it was there was one dude who I'm gonna try and get on this podcast at some point in time, but IB Jeep in '95 on Jeep Forum. Bought a Cherokee, stupid cheap, 3-inch lift, stock control arms, locked front and rear, 35 Pro comps, and was running blacks, and I saw that.
Of course.
And my mind was
that
just
sounds kind of familiar.
blown. And I'm like, there's no way that this dude is doing that with just this thing with stiffeners, 35s, and lockers.
Yeah.
And that's where the patented shitbox method originated.
Do any of you guys know Chris Doan? Doan?
No.
I might be butchering the name, but
I don't think so.
He's got a couple Comanches, and one of them I think it's on like a Dana 30, Dana 35, and he's got a doubler and I think 37s or 35s on it, and he just takes that thing everywhere. What's that, Jeff?
2.5 4-cylinder.
Well, that's probably what's keeping the 30 alive.
yeah, honestly, but it's crazy. Like, you don't have to have the 60s or
no
fancy axle shafts, all that.
No, I'm
you can
just
have a
dumb,
lot of fun.
and I drive by Braille.
Oh, actually, I just saw videos of him. The video of him crawling that literally like vertical rock. He went out wheeling with
that Comanche with no bed. Yeah,
I think they went to
MJ
Badlands
or whoever that is.
Yep. And I love it. This guy,
Yes.
MJ Crawlin posted, he goes, 1,000% chance this guy will hurt some feelings.
Yeah. I saw that. I love it. It's crazy. That guy also has a turbo MJ on tons and everything. He hasn't finished it yet, but it's like he's got a crazy build, but he also has a mild build that he just hurts feelings with. Awesome.
So has any time throughout your build you felt that you were kind of going in the wrong path with an XJ that you should switch to something different?
That's a hard question. Jeff, do you have an answer?
All the time?
I see a smile on your face.
All the time?
Well, the only reason I ask is because like anybody who doesn't have a Cherokee shits on Cherokees, but all the Cherokee guys are like, this is the fucking way to go. But then there's always those things that are like, yeah, I realize now why I hate a Cherokee. Like unibody. Open up or leaf springs.
Yeah.
I don't know. They work though.
That's the thing.
I guess I'm too brainwashed by the Cherokee. I feel like, every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, I'm going to build a Ranger or a Bronco 2 or something, be different. But what's it going to have in it? It's going to have a 4.0 in it. It's going to have an AX-15. It's going to have a 231. It's going to be a Cherokee with a Bronco body. So what's the point of changing the body?
Fair. Hey,
that right
fair.
there would be the epitome of hurt feelings. A Bronco with a 4-liter and an AX-15 in it would be hilarious, especially on tons with like a doubler.
I want to do that, and I really want to do a disco, like a Land Rover Discovery, like the first gen. I think that would be awesome.
That'd be rowdy.
Because they're cool, but at the end of the day, they're so disgustingly unreliable.
The thing I like about Cherokees, though, is it's a VIN and it's a box.
Exactly. So you
The
can do whatever
sky
you want.
is literally the limit. Matt, you want to tell us about what you've got going on up with your setup? Because legend has it that you're one of the few people to meet AK Auto.
He's our
Or-
pal.
That
Yeah.
dude does some insane
So
stuff.
it's oh man, that guy's wild. He's doing like a twin turbo setup right now.
On a
Nasty,
4-liter?
but yeah, so yeah, on a 4-liter.
Why?
He's making a custom manifold for two. It's like GT30s or something. I don't know, because he wants a lot of power. What's wrong with that?
Before you say why, all you guys should go look up Newcomer Racing on YouTube.
Okay.
He made on a crank dyno, not wheel dyno. He made almost 900 horsepower out of a 4.0.
I don't doubt that
Turbo.
it can be done. My biggest issue with the 4-liter is that it is still, no matter how you slice it, a 1950s tractor engine, and I've had a lot of bad luck with the cranks. I'm on engine 4, so.
Don't let the cranks throw you down. You know, like that is not the weak point of the motor.
No, but the components
is for
attached
Luke.
to it have been. So
What have you? What are your experiences with the cranks?
so far I have cracked one. It was not a deep crack, but it was definitely cracked. I've eaten the main bearings and the thrust bearing out of one.
Okay.
I have also had number 5 piston decide that it was done and was going to sit on top of the crankshaft and eat the crank. So, those are my
I've had that with
experiences.
number 6.
Yeah.
That's just why I'm torn, because it's like, do I want to put another one in, or do I want to just call up the junkyard, grab a cheap ass 4.8 for like $200 and slap it in? And when I've got the money, build a 6-liter that's going to have all the components I want in it and make dumb horsepower cheap. That's my big struggle.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
everything.
like, is it really cheap though? You know, like, I know a junkyard LS is a couple $100, but at the end of the day, motor mounts, all the things to run the LS, at the end of the day, it's not a cheap swap. You know, like the 4.0 is a good platform to build off. And honestly, I've never had a problem with crankshaft. My motor has 220,000 miles on it. Has a cam in it. I didn't change any bearings or nothing, and it seems to be holding up pretty well.
I'm also dumb,
and I like to rev it up a bit, you know.
I grab them from the junkyard. They go in, they get an oil change, they get a nice fancy Purelator filter if I'm feeling froggy that day, and
I just put old filters on mine.
To the moon.
He takes my filter and recycles it.
I give it another life.
But to answer the question of is it cheap? It's all relative. If you're already looking at replacing the front frame section, what's thrown in 2 pieces of Dom and a couple of bushings? And that's just like...
Yeah, I know what you mean. But it comes down to like radiator, that kind of stuff, where you're going to be spending money. Because factory Cherokee radiator cannot cool a V8.
Oh, 120%. Absolutely agreed.
And that's where I'm coming down.
Unless if you're good... Yeah, if you're good at, welding aluminum, then you could do it cheaply, but other than that, you don't have a whole lot of options unless you want to start hacking your Cherokee up to fit a big radiator in. Or...
Hello.
So you could definitely do it cheap then. Stuff like that, but you just got to get creative at the end of the day.
Yeah, you don't get to be cheap and get a good product unless you're creative.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that.
Okay, so I gotta ask, because you guys keep throwing around, 4.0s with turbos on them. Is it actually noticeable? I would imagine it's noticeable on the road, but like off road,
100%.
do you notice it? Because I know it's like lower PM.
So this is kind of Yeah, this is kind of hard to answer because when I had that Jeep, like I haven't driven that Jeep really in 2 years. I drove it after the dyno session, just around the block.
Mhm.
And from when I first put the turbo on to after I put or Jeff and I put the computer on and all that stuff and had it tuned, the difference in power and just engine response was insane.
Huh.
So
Oh, I
long
100%
story
believe
short,
it.
yeah, and I was the guy when I first put it on. Like everybody says on Club XJ, which is dead now, but doesn't matter. Everyone says, "Oh, you gotta have it tuned. You can't just slap a turbo on." And I didn't believe it. Jeff and I figured out how to kind of get it, trick it to run with the turbo.
It worked.
It worked. Yeah, it worked.
It made sweet turbo noises.
It sounded cool. Yeah, but after it was tuned and everything, the difference was incredible. It's like night and day, and I haven't been able to off road it yet, so I can't fully answer that question.
Huh.
But hopefully
But-
soon I'll be able to.
I have to say, before we got it tuned and everything, before when you did wheel it turbo, it spooled pretty quick because when you're off-roading and stuff, you're building a lot of drive pressure because
Yeah.
you're putting a lot of load on the motor.
Yeah.
So especially with the higher gears, you could rev pretty quick. It
Okay.
made 5 to 8 pounds of boost really fast. So it all depends on the turbo size. It all depends on this. It all depends on that.
Yeah, especially with
So what'd you go with? for the turbo?
513s and 4 low. What's that?
What size and what brand did you go for with the turbo?
That is a EM USA whatever eBay special,
eBay special.
and it's a GT30.
Okay.
Yeah, eBay.
And
Oh
so you
yeah,
just-
less than
so you-
$200.
So you ran the normal stock piping underneath the oil pan and then just routed it back up into the engine bay? Because this is something that I kind of down the line have actually been really considering is
Yeah.
turboing mine once I get kind of bored with the power or just bored with what I should do next.
You get bored with the power real
Mhm.
quick on the highway with
Yeah.
538s and 37s. You just
Yep, let me
So-
just casually throw this thing into fourth, put my foot completely in it, and watch the gas gauge move quicker than the RPM gauge.
Mhm.
But so you felt at like 5 psi.
No, it's not like that.
But so you felt at 5 psi with the mild tune that it did enough that it was worth the effort you put in for it.
Yeah, because it was minimal effort, to be honest, at the time. Like we just packed an exhaust up, like a up pipe, whatever you want to call it, and slapped the turbo on, and for a couple $100 had fun. Yeah, it was worth it, but it wasn't my daily driver, so I really didn't care
Gotcha.
too much about it.
so it was more just like a science experiment. That
Drivability and
turned out to
everything. I
be
mean, you could drive it around.
really good.
That's all of our vehicles.
Yeah, I wanted to turbo something, and I was like, this is perfect for it. So, yeah,
Well, definitely,
I just wanted to learn, so I tried it.
I'll definitely be checking in with you once I get more involved with that because I'm interested. It's really rad.
What they did
Yeah,
is
but-
rad.
Yeah, feel free to shoot Jeff or us a message.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it did get dynoed, and at 13 pounds, it is making basically 300 horsepower.
Holy
Can
shit.
I just
Damn.
ask one dumb question? What are you guys
Yeah.
doing for engine management? Because I feel like
Mega
that
Squirt.
needs to be discussed.
Yeah. So
Yeah, so
from-
we're using Megasquirt MS3X.
Oh.
we got
Jeff,
it
you want
from
to explain?
Anthony Rendazzo, AK Auto, and so what happened? He posted on Facebook.
That's
and
how
I'm
we
like,
got.
"Matt,"
That's how we got connected with him.
I said, Matt, you need to do this. We were having problems after we put the cam in. It didn't want to run right, and the cam company Lulani told us that we need a computer or we need to get it tuned, and we're like, nah, we'll be fine. We figured out everything else. We don't need it tuned, but it just ran like garbage. So we're like, screw it. We need to do full standalone or figure something out. So
Mhm.
Anthony was selling a MS3X Mega Squirt already, and so we bought it from him with the wiring harness, and we started, I cut everything out of the way, and I just started wiring everything one sensor at a time. I had basically the Mega Squirt wiring diagram on the left and I downloaded a PDF of a 2001 Cherokee sensor diagram so I could find the pinouts and everything. And I just started soldering everything together. Everything is pretty straightforward. The only things that are tricky are the cam and the crank sensor. Everything else you can basically use stock
Huh.
and wire it
Huh.
straight in. And then you got to find someone that knows how to tune it. And then also Mega Square, the Tuner Studio is their tuning software. And if you pay like a subscription to them, they have auto tune, kind of like Holly does. So they'll kind of like you put in all like the stuff about the vehicle, about the engine size, about what injectors you have, blah blah blah, and it kind of tries to tune it itself for you. So
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
I
thank God for
appreciate
EFI.
that. It's like that right there in my mind takes that turbo setup from like Club XJ kind of memery to like a legitimate 100% setup.
exactly, and that's what I said, and that's the thing.
Whoa,
Like,
whoa,
and
whoa, whoa, whoa!
I work.
Are you associating us with Club XJ?
Well, I mean, you did do the Club XJ 1 ton. I think that was a salvation. So,
No, I'm just messing around.
no,
But yeah, like you said, sorry, but like you said, the like it's kind of like it's you gotta figure out this stuff, and I'm a regular electrician as my regular job, and I know nothing about vehicle wiring, but this forced me to learn.
I
And
always looked at it as wiring are wiring, and I'm bad at wiring, so fucking.
yeah, exactly. It's completely different, but at the end of the day, stuff needs to go from one place to another, and you just sit down and figure it out. And it's to me, that's something as we progress, it separates the men from the boys, and you gotta force yourself to learn something you're uncomfortable doing,
Yeah.
and
And I
you gotta
think
accept that you're gonna screw up
I
because we
think
did.
oh yeah. I think on that note, more like directly wheeling related, but I feel like 1 tons and whatnot are kind of that barrier in a much lower standard than 1 tons and a turbo XJ. But 1 tons on their own seem like they're kind of a barrier for where you can start being fucking retarded.
100% agreed.
Yeah,
100% agreed.
yeah,
It's fun to be able to get your nose in the air and be like, fuck it. If something's gonna break, it's gonna break, but whatever. It's not any worse than putting this axle under the Jeep, so I can fix it. Like, what's the
Yeah,
worst thing that's
exactly.
gonna happen? Oh no, I popped a
Yeah, and I think
U-joint,
that's-
or whatever.
Mhm.
yeah, exactly. Like that's really the worst case with 1 tons. I broke an axle shaft, but that was the original stubby shaft out by the lockout. But it really comes down
That's
to like,
common.
are you taking it on a trailer, or
Mm.
are you have to drive it there? That's kind of how much you're gonna wheel it.
Doesn't matter to some people.
Yeah.
This kid's
I
fucking
guess it depends
whacked.
how far you are from home.
Nah, Graham
Again,
drove.
doesn't matter for some
we
people.
could be pretty far.
Graham drove from Massachusetts to Roush, ran reds and blacks, and then drove it home after we changed diff
Oh,
oil
man.
and like multiple other oils in the parking lot.
That was the worst part was just the fact that everything was full of water, and we drained everything out except for the transmission, because I figured, okay, there's still like I took the fill plug out and then all the water came out, and I wasn't thinking straight. Oil floats on water, so I should have been thinking, okay, it's water at
Yeah.
the fill plug, there's
Yeah.
no oil in there. Well, I was like, nope,
Yeah, but then the
it's
oil
at the
comes.
full line, it's good, right? We get
Yeah.
home, I drain it because I figure it's probably got some water in it. I had like 2 water bottles of just water. There's no oil in the thing. So it did it.
That was
The
it.
X15s run mint on water for a 6-hour drive. But I wouldn't do
And
it
like
again.
Jeff and I have a key rule off-roading: stay out of the water. Stay out of the
Yep.
mud.
Yep.
Do yourself a favor.
We were just. I don't know if you know Jamie and them. They're out in that area, but Jamie
I
and
don't know.
Austin. I think Pumphrey. I forget Jamie's last name, but they've got Toyota buggy. Excuse me. Wow, fuck. They've got a Toyota buggy and a CJ on 43 SXs that's kind of like towing that borderline between still being a CJ and being a buggy. So
Truggy.
we're just following him, and he hits this little like section, and whatever, it gets up to his rockers. Fuck it, that's not that fucking bad. So cool.
No,
No.
it was over his door just a little. Are you talking about the pond? Where you went through the pond?
Yeah, I was further back, so to me it looked like it was at the rockers. So
Okay,
that
well,
was my
I
initial.
saw CJ. Wasn't really accounting for tire size. When you've got 43-inch SXs and pretty decent lift height on a CJ, it kind of makes the puddle look smaller than it is. So when you hit it in 37s and less lift, you go up over your hood. Not again. I won't touch that puddle ever again.
I won't touch that puddle either because my
I'm impressed I even
experience.
got you to go in it.
Do you want to explain what happened there? Because you can probably tell the story better than I can. I was just pissed at that point because there was water like lapping over my balls, and I'm just like, it's still running. So
Well, it wasn't running very well. You were definitely over, or close to over the distributor, and it was acting up. And you installed that one time, started it back up, and it still worked. So you just hammered it out. He's not moving at all, probably like a couple inches as he's just on rev limiter. There's a video of me on top of my Jeep filming him as he goes through on the other side. Because Jamie had been like, "Oh yeah, if you take the right edge, it's not as deep." It was about as deep. Just not.
I
quite
just
as
got
deep.
lucky because I had 40s. I think that was the only thing that saved me. It was, and then we did shoot the moon in one shot, 3 people in a row, just like
That was
yeet
impressive.
right up.
I thought that was going to be. And the second day, it was harder for whatever reason. That
I am
first time.
I am so pissed because that is one of that was my quintessential wheeling moment. Like that has been something that has been on my to-do list for fucking 8 years at this point, and fucking I did it in 30 seconds walking right up it. No one caught a video, there's no pictures, there's nothing. I just went up it.
What's that other obstacle that we hit?
What?
though?
Shoot the moon?
Yeah, shoot the moon.
Yeah.
Is that like the most famous Roush
Okay.
trail
It's
or
one
something?
of them.
I think so.
But it was one of those things where like the group that I was a part of at that time was Naxja, and they would always post videos from Shoot the Moon, and it was like they had a 440 MJ going up it, they had like Jeep or buggies going up it, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to do it because I've seen dudes on 35s make it taking just the right line. I want to fucking do it. So I did it on 40s in 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same thing. Like I remember the same thing.
40s
Like every time
40s
I would go,
35s are
every
There's
time
a little
I would
cheating.
go, we went. I was on 33s, 31s, and I was like, oh, one day I'll be able to do Shoot the Moon. One day. And then I went there on tons and 37s, and like you said, it was dry, and just walked right up it, and I was like,
Yep.
oh, this is Shoot the Moon.
Well, I was kind of happy because the line that I took, I went all the way up there's a large rock on the right side of it. So
Yep.
I just drove my driver tire up that, and my door ended up getting within a half inch of that big ass rock on the side, but I made it through with no body damage, no tire spinning, just like, yep, okay, my rig's good. You know what I mean? I 100% recommend doing it if you go to Roush, but it's not the quintessential obstacle at Roush.
Yeah, agreed.
What was that obstacle that just denied anything but buggies and Curtis the second day?
That was Crawler Ridge.
Crawler Ridge, okay.
Yeah.
That one. spanked us. That one was like
That was a good fucking time. Crawler Ridge.
that was the only
is-
obstacle that first day that denied us. Just
Yeah, that was a
thoroughly.
100% denial, and my rig's still in the shop from that obstacle.
and even just getting up there was a
It was a
massive
hard.
pain. And then you get up there and you're like, okay, well, I don't know. Everybody's just like, so you just point your tires here and you just hammer it and hope you get up. And for all of us, full body
Use
guys,
those
it just
curb
ended up-
feelers.
for all of us, it just ended up, you were in the right line and then you slid right out, sliced a tire or popped a tire, and you're done.
I got violently ejected from that line.
That's where all your good pictures come from. Is you getting? I'm surprised we even have pictures of you bouncing off, considering how quick that happened.
Yeah, so I was crawling, and the driver front tire and the driver rear tire had traction, but the driver rear tire was the only one with actual traction. So it just picked the whole fucking nose of the Jeep up and threw it sideways. I ended up like sitting 45 degrees in the obstacle with a blown tire, and we had to put a winch cable to my cage to pull it back up enough to change the tire and like stop it from flopping over, and then we had to winch the nose over. It was a good time.
Always, at first you just think at those situations, you're like, what the hell am I gonna do? What the absolute fuck am I gonna do? And then you somehow overcome it, and
Yeah, you work through it.
you're out on the other side laughing with your buddies. It's like, where did we get here?
I'm not laughing at the moment because I split my cross member for my 3-link. I ripped my leaf spring mounts out, and I fucking munched a rim and a Nitto 40. The tire's okay. I glued it and fucking heated it, so whatever.
Put some tubes in it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fucking throw tubes in it, but
So with the turbo Cherokee, why did you go with an interior cage compared to like going like a hybrid or something of the matter?
This is a good one.
Yeah. So honestly, the reason is because I hate the exo cages.
Let's go.
I like-
Let's
Ooh.
go.
Like-
I like this guy more.
So I love the idea of them, like saving your body. I'm all for that. But I stove my body in years ago, so I figured like I don't really care how clean it is, and I like the look of a built interior cage, like a full cage, not just a simple hoop and supports, like a full on cage. So it's the first one I've done. That's what I wanted to do, so I did it.
How hard
That's
I
my
guess- did you?
short answer.
Was it a? It wasn't a kit, right? You did you bend it up yourself? The whole thing, custom? or was it
No. So Jeff and
Okay.
I bought we bought a tube bender. We bought a Rogue Fab bender.
oh
and
fuck
just said,
yeah,
you know
dude.
what? At this point, we bought a welder and figured out how to weld. Let's buy a bender and figure out how to bend. Like I don't
Yep.
want to pay someone to do it, so
Mhm.
I'd rather learn.
Dude, that was my mindset going into it. I called up a buddy of mine. I'm like, hey, I want to build a cage. How much tube do you think I'm going to need? And he goes, you're going to need at least 100 and something feet. So I'm like, all right, get me 120 feet and just like let me know when the order comes in. So I ended up with this fucking like pile of tube, a Hobart 190, and a tube bender.
Yeah.
Fuck it. I
We're
can
in the
make
same
it happen.
space. That's exactly what we have. Hobart 190, or no, we have a 210, right?
Yeah, it's a 210,
Oh.
but same idea. And I've already gone through 200 feet, and I got a little bit more to do, but roughly like 230 feet of tube.
just on an interior cage.
I think he dropped.
Interior cage, but it's also like I don't know if you guys have seen too much of the videos, but it's a tube nose, so there's no inner fender wells.
So
It's just front
some
frame
better
rails.
stuff. I was
and
gonna
then-
say 200
tube.
on. Okay, that makes sense.
It
Well,
also
yeah,
looks
it's
like
outer,
Spider-Man's
but
lair.
it's also hidden too.
So that's the thing that I really like about Cherokees. Like I said earlier, though, it's a box and a VIN. It's not the hardest thing to build tube around. I disagree with you on the interior cage because I'm a big fan of having headroom, but I've got tall seats and I'm a big dude. So
No. Fancy roof racks. That's what it's
Yeah,
about.
yeah. I mean, I'm 6'4", so I know what you
all
mean.
right, so you're taller than
That's
me.
why I had to get creative with mine and I had to make headroom for myself. But I also cut my floors out to drop my seats as low as I could too. So it's like my seats are not anything close to factory mounting location.
So that for me was another thing that I did. I dropped my seat mounts and I've got Baja SS. They're
Okay.
fucking fat boys. I got them custom made to my
Yeah,
size and my girlfriend's size. So it was
I
one of
gotcha.
those things where it was like they're tall. I have to drop them way the fuck down. And
Yep.
I
Yep.
also, even with dropping them way the fuck down, if I'm wearing a helmet, I have like 3/4 of an inch to the fucking bar if I do an
Mhm.
interior.
Oh yeah. Like right now, I can probably fit 2 of my fingers between my head and the cage.
So like
But
I had a really shitty experience on a local trail. I had my head out the window and I got conked really fucking good, like
oof,
not going to work
yeah,
the next day coming down a rock ledge and like going and finding out I
yeah.
had a concussion. So that right there was like, yep, nope, I've got a helmet, fuck it, I don't care if I'm a nerd and I like the extra
Yeah.
space.
No,
There's you gotta
no,
respect.
I definitely agree with that.
But yeah, I do like the clean
I
look of your Jeep though because it's just you've got that front end work done, so it looks almost like a wide body to me. And I dig that. That is something
Yeah,
that I'm tempted to go for in the rear. I want to roll my inner fender to match my tube work 2 inches off the body to get it so that way it's like you're gonna know what it or not gonna know what it is, I guess, comparatively.
Mhm.
But like wide
yeah,
bodying a Cherokee is cool
and
as
that's
fuck
what
to
I
me.
tried to do too. Yeah, like the back of mine is just my back fenders are just a piece of 1 3/4 tube that the old fender just dies into essentially. So it's like my goal is to make it look like something that could come off the assembly line, but obviously hasn't.
See, I didn't want to go
I
for that, but I wanted to go for like that old school function over form look, and that's
Yeah,
always been my style with everything I build. So it's like I've got two straight bars running down my drip rails that have a spreader bar at the front, and my A pillar ties into that. So there's
okay,
a three-piece halo. It looks kind of weird
yeah,
compared to every other Cherokee that's out there, but it's just simple, it's functional. And then behind the seats, I've got a
yeah,
big ass fucking node that's, 6 tubes tying into one, that kind of shit. I really like that, and I've got generic Super Duty tons with clapped reds now.
It's a cookie
So,
cutter XJ. He didn't
yeah.
even build proper nodes in the front of the. He didn't even build a Halo. He did like a weird combo between the Halo style XO and
Hey, if it
yeah,
fits, it
yeah.
ships, right?
a back. Yeah.
Hey, say what you want
Listen, I
about
don't
that
care what it
Jeep.
looks like. Let's go wheeling.
Yep. Yep.
Say what
Full
you want
cookie
about
cutter.
that Jeep, but it does ship.
Yeah, it does.
Exactly.
It goes every time there's a backyard built meet. It's generally there. So,
Except during the winter.
Yeah, unless it's not.
well, in the wintertime, I give myself a solid 4 months to fix last year's 7 to 8 months of fucking up. So, you know.
Yeah. It was a pretty hard season
So,
last year. Surprisingly.
yeah, I loved it. It was great. That was probably my best year of wheeling. But I have to ask, the Ford brand has kind of slowly grown on me because I made the switch from my Chevy to a 6.2 F250, and I've had a couple issues with the truck, but man, I fucking love that thing. It's just a generic work
Yes.
truck.
Yeah, we couldn't tell.
Why did you turbo the?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Why did
giving
you
anything
build
away
the
there.
IDI? Because that's
Because
a
nobody
cool
does
fucking
it.
build.
And nobody does it. Why? Like it's one of those things where I was thinking like, oh, I could do a Cummins. Everyone throws a Cummins in an OBS. Like, why not just do something different? And if someone asks me what it is, I can pop the hood and they'll look at it and be like, "The fuck is this? A big block with a turbo?" Like,
Yep.
like. But I really like it, and at the end of the day, it's different, and nobody else really around here has one.
Well, that's like for me with this truck because of the weight rating and the way that my state is broken down and the way the state that I'm looking at moving is broken down. It's emissions exempt because it's got such a heavy tow rating. I really want to drop a fucking 7.3 in it because I feel like a new style tow rig with an old school 7.3 would definitely be something that would make you scratch your head and go, wait, what?
Exactly. No, there's a couple of guys in my IDI groups that actually have done that in the newer style, like the 6.0 trucks or the 6.4 trucks, blown up, and they'll throw an IDI with a turbo on it.
That's funny as fuck.
It makes a good enough power. It's like a stock Power Stroke, but with no computer.
But
Runs
I mean,
forever.
I was talking the 7.3 Power Stroke. A 7.3 Power Stroke with a set of twins and a fucking
no, and it's
set
easy
of
enough
sticks.
to swap too. If you're not afraid of wires, it's very easy to swap.
The biggest thing is integrating the computer. It seems like that seems to be the sticking point on that setup.
Yeah, exactly. With the newer trucks with the CAN bus systems with the gauges and everything, it's a real PIA. Unless you're a genius.
I'm an autist, not a genius.
They really like their crank position sensor. So if you run one off like the front harmonic balancer, like if you weld the plate onto the backside and just make your own mount, I know that's kind of their main stickler. So as long as you have that, you should generally be able to kind of finagle whatever you need.
Yeah, the other
exactly.
thing that's an option would be dropping in one of the later 5.9 common rails. That would be a cool swap too. But
Absolutely.
that's a very generic swap. But there's a reason it's
Lame.
generic. It works.
Exactly, because it works.
And I think that
put an
ties
Allison
in.
behind it next. You fucking copycat.
No, I'm gonna leave the
that's
6.
definitely
I've got a
lame.
6R140. Why am I gonna put another transmission in?
DT360.
Yeah, there you
Nah.
go. Yeah. 305 out of like a 55 Chevy. Fuck it, right?
I'm fucking boring.
No, I get it. I mean, I don't know. I don't think you should really be focusing on that necessarily.
Oh,
Get your
I know.
4-liter situation taken care of.
Well, that right there is a discussion in itself for another podcast because I'm getting very, very wacky with what I'm willing to do at this point. I'm sick of the unibody, so fuck it.
Yeah, see, and that is one of the biggest struggles I've had with mine. I just keep working on it, and I get to the point where I'm like, why do I keep sinking all my time and money into this hunk of trash unibody? That it's everything is annoying to work with, annoying to put 2x6 rockers on. All that stuff is annoying.
Well,
but at the end of the day, it's you made it this far, you might as well keep going.
So my thing with it was, I'm thinking about it, and it's like, man, I could probably slug my lower fucking mounts for the cage on the interior part. And at that point, why not just cut the whole bottom half off and just do it again? Because if it doesn't matter if I buy a cheap beater of some sort to wheel, or if I buy a pre-built buggy, why not make it super fucking cool and just cut the whole fucking bottom out, put an LS in it, put the fucking truck transmission, put an Atlas in it, and be cool with it. But
by cutting the whole bottom out, you mean like cut the whole frame, like unibody,
I
whatever you
mean,
want to call
like,
it off?
cut the lower fucking, right from the bottom of the fucking B and A pillar, like right at the bottom of the body line, just chop it. And
yeah, like right at the door, hack it off.
Everything
And then
below
slap it on
that,
something
just
else.
fucking build a custom frame and drop the
Yeah.
Cherokee body on it. Support the body with some 2x6
Mm-hmm.
rockers. Move the doors up. Cut the bottom of the doors off. And it's
Yeah.
like
No, I gotcha.
it's like at that point you're building a fully custom vehicle, but it's got a VIN.
See,
yeah.
And
that's-
like
It depends on what state you're in, but yeah.
You
I don't
know,
think you have to go that far, right? I mean, especially if you're as far along as you are, Luke. And I guess anybody with stiffeners and the 2x6 slider, the classic stuff that you do to a Cherokee. Especially if you've got a cage and other stuff, and this is sort of what I'm thinking. For my build as I go forward, I just set up a 205 and an eco box that I'm going to throw in, and the thing's fucking massive. Like I had all the pieces apart, and it didn't really look that big, and I kind of measured things. I was like, this will be fine. And I put it together. I'm like, holy fuck. Not only can I not get this off the bench because it's heavy as hell, but it's also way bigger than I expected it to be. And I was planning on cutting all of my floor out anyways, but I don't think that you have to go as far as taking out all the unirail. Sure, take the floors out, and with the structure you've built with the 2x6 and the supports back to the frame rails, assuming you've stiffened everything, you can just what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some tube work across in between everything, a hoop for the transmission, clear everything, and just patch the floor around that, and then you end up with basically the center section is mostly tube. You keep all the strength, but you also keep the platform to some extent.
But I have to ask in return, why? If you have another rig to wheel, like if I were to buy a cheap buggy after I move and I'm wheeling that, why not just put it in the shop? And why would you try and save the uniframe if you're going to move the rockers up 6 inches? At that point in time, you're going to be building all new mounts for your cage. You're going to be building all new mounts for everything else. You're going to be... I already have to modify stuff to get the coilovers in. Like, I have to cut more into the frame rail just a little bit. I'm going to have to French it. So it's like, why should
people
I
do that all the
bother?
time. That's not a structural. That's not.
Oh no,
I've never seen anybody having structural issues from.
It's
Frenching
not
the
so
frame.
much a structural
got
thing.
it.
It's one of those things where it's like, man, I kind of want to see how far I can take this. It's not even so
As far
much
as you
about.
want.
Yeah, it's not, that the total
That sounds like
chassis
anal to
setup
me.
is awful, but if I can build new frame rails and I can lift the rockers, change
Well, I mean,
the
it just comes
cage a
down
little
to
bit.
time. How much time and money do you want to spend on it? You can keep what you already paid for.
Is it really
You already-
worth it though? Like it's just a Cherokee,
It's just
Yeah,
a
it's funny because
Cherokee.
Do you really love
coming
that body that much?
I feel like, I feel like we're coming at it from the total opposite.
I'm not
We
trying to
do
be
the
an a-hole,
opposite where
No, I
we
fully
say,
agree,
how.
but it's just a VIN at that point.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And the way I
That's-
see it with mine is like I'm gonna destroy it, and that's why I was okay with doing an interior cage. I'm gonna smash the shit out of it, but at the end of the day, I'll hack that body off and slap something else on and have fun
So
with it.
yeah.
Like
Isn't it more
Don't
of
matter
a
to me.
title rather than the VIN? Because you can get a vehicle with
Yeah,
the VIN that
exactly.
doesn't
It's
come
a
with the
title, yeah.
It's mostly the title rather than anything. 'Cause you can punch a VIN
Well,
into anything.
Mhm.
In Connecticut, it's more of
And
the
in New
VIN
Jersey, it's
thing.
really easy.
All right, so up here it's
okay.
not. It's if you have to have a vehicle identification number that matches
Yeah.
your previous reg, this, that, the other thing, and it's
Yep.
that's like the quintessential point is a clean VIN number for up here compared to a title if
okay.
it's over 20 years old. So like
Oh,
I gotcha.
okay.
I gotcha.
Okay.
when I say it's a clean VIN, I mean literally that it is a clean vehicle identification number that will go through the system. Same thing as a title, but just up here they only care about the VIN number.
Yeah,
So-
and it's the same. Like by us, everybody says clean title. Like all listings say clean title.
Yep.
Same idea.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's no.
So how did you guys get started on the YouTube?
Yeah, so Jeff and I, I'd say it's probably like 2 years ago now. We started working on all of our stuff back in 2014. But 2 years ago, we really got the kick to try, and we look up everything on YouTube, like trying to figure out how to fix stuff. So we figured, you know what? There's certain things we figured out how to fix that we can't find videos of. Like there's no videos of Turbo Cherokee or Turbo 4.0s, stuff like that. So we're like, let's just start making videos. Let's try it.
It really started
no
with
hurt in
our ID, with my IDI. The only videos of like performance IDIs or turbo IDIs are potato phone videos of 13-second clips of them driving down the road. And I was like, I can do this so much better, you know? And, you know, we didn't invest much. We bought a GoPro and got some editing software and started making videos of me putting together the motor. And then from there, you know, same thing with the turbo Jeep, you know, there's no good videos online about it. And we're like, you know, especially with the standalone computer, I basically, you know, went step by step with the standalone so anyone can really follow my stuff and wire their own. And I just feel like there's a place for it. There's people searching for it. You know, if I'm searching for it, I'm not the only one searching for it. So let's make content.
Yeah,
you know,
makes sense.
I don't think we're gonna ever become something like Cletus or zip ties or anything like that. But I really think, you know, there is a market, if you want to say.
Well, there's like a niche following, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like anything remotely.
Well, it's like it looks like you guys have a nice little following on your channel, at least.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's really nice, and most of it's positive. My favorite thing, the biggest hate is for my 44, and I love it. You know? All the power to you, you know.
It's not a real 1-ton.
Nope.
Yeah, whatever, go for it. Make fun of it all you want. It holds the 40s just fine with my 80 horsepower Renix 4.0. I don't think it's going to hold the horsepower when I put the 4.8 and a cam in, but we'll see.
Did you just say you're running a 44 with 40s? And
Yeah,
also use it's fine in the same sentence?
Absolutely. I put RCVs in it.
It's an 8-lug 44.
And it's an 8-lug 44.
That's
well, that
cheating.
means nothing. But the RCVs,
yeah, I know.
That's cheating.
Yeah, the RCVs, they're warranted up to a 40-inch tire lifetime. So I went to the biggest size possible.
Yep.
And you know what?
I haven't had a problem.
What did you pay for the RCVs is the better question to ask.
$1,400 at the time. That was about 4 years ago.
Holy shit! Oh,
yeah.
That's what I paid for my Kingpin 60.
Oh my.
So that right there is like my biggest problem with doing that to a 44 because
no, absolutely. But at the time, I'm like, you know, this is going to be my axle. I'm going to use it for the rest of my wheeling career.
Hey, I respect
Fair
that.
enough.
I respect it.
But you know, and that was at the time where I thought a 4.0 stock 4.0, you know, was enough power for me, and blah blah blah. You know, you learn and grow.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm into my Dana 60 for probably like 1900. So to me, that's just too big of a pill to swallow.
No, I got the axle for $200. I threw a truss on it for $500. You know, I redid the
totally
ball
respect
joints and
it.
stuff. And then I kept, you know, I went wheeling on 37s with the stock shafts. You know, I blinked and they snapped. And I was like, what am I going to do? Am I going to spend, you know, $1,000 on chromoly shafts, or am I going to spend $1,400 on RCVs, or am I going to ditch this axle and go to something else now that I have all this time and effort into it?
Yep.
So, you know, we plow with another Cherokee that we have, and I made some good money. I had some cash, and I said, screw it, I'm just going to buy the RCVs and not have to think about it. And I haven't had to think about it, honestly. I'm happy right now with them. They work.
Is it an unlimited warranty? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, so it's a lifetime, unlimited, no questions asked warranty up to a 40-inch tire. So
exactly.
if anything breaks.
Worst case, they blow up, you get a brand new set for free. So
exactly.
And you guys seem like the type that could do gears, or that gears wouldn't be the end of the world too. I don't mean that to sound disrespectful to the people that don't have experience.
I've never blown up a set of gears.
Well, we don't do
but
gears though.
We don't put them in ourselves. That's the one
Yes.
thing we don't do.
That's what
But
we have
Anything else?
Rambo.
For-
No,
or-
why not?
Because I've just never tried it, and I was gonna do it with my axles, and then I was like, I just want to drive it. Let me have someone else do it while I'm working. And also, just I'm intimidated where, I don't want to eat a set of gears and,
although I'll
be
be
an idiot
honest,
about it.
I'm gonna do my next set of gears and whatever it is because fuck it. It's like $400 and it's worth
Yeah.
that for me to learn the skill if I fuck it up
Exactly.
that bad.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but you could also pay
Yeah.
Graham 300.
I mean, you gotta
bucks to do it.
That's the thing.
Yeah, there's
Right,
plenty of
It
people.
was-
If you know people, you can always find somebody who can do it for you cheap. But
Exactly.
I think, I mean, if you're going to be doing any amount of them, it's definitely worthwhile to know how to do it. There's so many
agree.
videos. The buy-in to actually do it is like, do you have a press? Do you have a
Like a
bearing
couple
puller?
$100.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
and
almost nothing.
if you
Yeah.
really want to be special, get a dial indicator.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh no, the dial indicator is important. When you don't need a depth
No,
Yeah.
thing or
it
anything like
wasn't
that. Like,
useful.
what are you talking about?
Just use that paint by number stuff.
You can use it.
I heard you can use
At least you can use a
Play-Doh.
dial indicator for everything.
True.
Play-Doh, yeah. I've
hey,
heard
I'm a
that.
tool and die maker. I make my living off of 1/1000th of an inch and less. So dial indicators and me go together like fucking bread and butter. Peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah, but
You can
I've
use it
found
for
that
everything. It's worth it.
I found that it's once you have done a set and you drive it on the highway and it doesn't blow up, the smoke and mirrors is gone. Maybe it like I think the first axle I did was I think it was the 44 Cody that you've got. And
Oh,
when I first did it, it wasn't no. And it's been great. And when I first drove it on the highway, it was good, but there was like a little bit of something going on. So I fiddled with it, right? I took some pressure off of the bearings. I put some different shims in, put it back together, and it was good, right? And once you can figure out what all those noises mean just from having put it together. You know how it went together, so you know probably why it's
Yeah.
making certain noises, and you can tweak it. So then it's,
Yeah.
all the mystery's gone.
What to
I don't know.
adjust, what to
Yeah.
change.
I feel like it's the same with like
Yeah, and,
opening up a motor or something,
Yep.
like I was so scared to open up a motor or this or that, but once you start doing it, you're forced to do it because it's your daily and you got to get it back on the road or this, and then you figure it out, you realize, the smoke and
Yeah.
mirrors are gone, like you said. And we haven't been in that situation where we're forced to do gears yet.
So on that note, I have a very good buddy who
we definitely will be.
Yeah, I've got a buddy who's been on here, Jeremy. He did my gears, and it was one of those things where it was like, man, I can just drop these off. He said I'll have them done in 2 to 3 weeks. The unibody needs stiffeners anyway. The axles are done. Okay, well, let me go and do that while he's doing the fucking gears. And I picked them up, and it was a ridiculously fair price because I knew someone. But at the same time,
But 2 to 3 weeks.
yeah, well, I was doing the stiffeners
2 to
at
3?
the same time, and I was doing some
Oh, okay.
chassis fixes, so it was 2 to 3 weeks was just like, whatever, the body's
Mhm.
gonna be on jack stands
Yeah,
for
yeah,
that
no,
entire
I just-
time.
Yeah, I just think that's a long time for gears. But
Oh, it is
if
a
it's a buddy
long,
of yours, it's after hours or whatever. I get
Yep.
it.
Yeah.
oh, definitely. He's an engineer
If
for,
he's moonlighting or whatever.
he's an
An
engineer,
nerd.
so he ends up
Engineer.
spending a lot of time doing, or, yeah, engineered, but, he ends up spending a lot of time working anyway. So it was like one of those things where I was
Yeah,
working
yeah.
55 hours, he was working 55 hours. If he didn't get to it this week, I totally got it because he was also
Yeah.
getting married.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like
I got
that was why the 2 to 3 weeks was cool.
No, I totally get it.
But yeah, next set's gonna get done. So I've got another question for you guys because this one's always fun. What's the worst moment of wheeling you guys have had that's like turned out okay?
Jeff, you want to go first, or you want me to go? Who wants to go
I'm
first?
assuming it's the one where we got stuck with Hank.
You go first, then I'll go.
Oh, okay.
I got a different one.
Jeez. I've had a few, but my worst moment was I left my Jeep in the woods one time overnight. I let my friend use it. We were just screwing around, and he broke the drive shaft, which is no big deal. My friend was on top of the hill. It was getting dark, and he was just going to turn around and pull me out of the little ditch I got myself into, and we were going to get out of there. But he went around to get me from behind, and it turned out that where he went was not the way to go. So my brother and I are waiting there. My phone's dying. My brother's phone's dying. It's dark. And we're like, where the hell is this kid? And we get a call from him that they're stuck. We're like, so there's two Jeeps, nowhere near each other, stuck in the woods. It's dark. It's cold. I want to go home. It's Sunday night. I have to work tomorrow. This is great. So my brother, they're like, oh, we'll get there soon, We just got unstuck. So, we wait. 15 minutes goes by. My brother and I are freezing, so we start a little fire. Stay warm. We're getting warm. My phone's on like 2%. My brother's is on 3 or 4%. And we're like, the only way we're getting out of here is if all four of us get back together and at least one vehicle gets out of here tonight. So we see headlights in the distance all the way up on the hill, and we just start walking towards them. And we get closer and closer and closer. And they're stuck on like these big boulders, like good size, 40 inches high, blah, blah, blah. It's a TJ on 35s, locked in the rear, open in the front, nothing special. And we're like, we are so screwed. So we're like, we're not getting out of here tonight. No, neither of us, we're all sleeping in our Jeeps tonight. So, my brother and I got our heads together. The driver of the Jeep was with us, and the passenger wanted nothing to do with it. He just stood outside and just watched us do everything. But, we took every rocks we could find that we could move, sticks, branches, whatever we could find to get that Jeep out of its situation and get it back to a path where we could get out of there. I left my Jeep overnight. We came back the next day because it was like 10 o'clock at that point, and I was exhausted and wanted to go home. And it was a Cherokee. I was like, if I lose it, whatever. It was unregistered and insured at the time. So, yeah. So
That
we left
sounds
it there
like
the next day.
fresh out of high school experience.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
More like just dropped out of college, but yeah.
Yeah.
Same difference.
So next day we came back, pulled it out, and life was good. But, that was the worst experience I've had. The whole time I just wanted to be in my warm bed. And I was like, what am I doing? Why am I letting other people drive my vehicles? I could have been home,
What about you, Matt?
Yeah, you would have broke it too, though. Yeah, so I'd have to say my worst experience, and I haven't wheeled my Jeep a whole lot. I'd say 2 good seasons. But we were at Roush Creek one time, and I don't know if you guys know Rock Creek.
Yep.
I think it's a black or a red. But the first couple times Jeff and I were there, we'd always stop. There'd be a spotter going through Rock Creek because there's some big boulders there. You gotta be careful. And one time, finally, when my Jeep was done, Jeff and I went. We were with our buddy with a TJ on 1-tons, and we're going through Rock Creek. Jeff just says, "Forget everybody," and sends it past. No, we planned on stopping and everybody getting out, spotting and stuff. Jeff said, "Forget that." Just cranks down.
I felt
Rock
comfortable
Creek.
enough where I was like, "Oh, I'll just use my driver's side tire as my spotter and just follow that."
Yeah,
and
so
it worked.
So he's cranking down. I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Let's do it. My buddy in the TJ passes me. He's going down. I'm the last guy.
He's right behind me.
And a friend of mine is with me. All of a sudden, there's smoke everywhere in my Jeep. And at the time, I had the battery in the back of my Jeep. and it was in like I think it was a Rough Stuff battery tray. So the battery tray is metal. It's like an aftermarket, whatever, battery holder. And the battery actually slid. The positive terminal hit the metal case of the battery tray. So there's smoke everywhere in my Jeep. Like, Jeep stopped running. So I get out. I'm opening the hatch. Thank God there was somebody on the trail with a fire extinguisher. Rookie mistake right there. Make sure you bring one with you. But that was probably the scariest. Thank God we got the fire out. Jeff came back, jump-started me. And it was an Optima battery. We were good to go.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was probably the scariest. I thought my Jeep was going to burn down to the ground.
Yeah.
Couldn't breathe in that thing.
Yeah, he had like yanked at the wiring and just ripped the positive cable off of the terminal.
Yeah, it was pretty melted
So-
at that point.
I cut it clean, spent a little bit, cleaned it up, put it back together, and then it was dead at that point. So we jumped in. I was like, I'm going to shit myself if this thing actually turns on, You didn't fry something,
Yeah,
blow a fusible
I'm
blink
all for
somewhere.
welding, but I'm not trying to weld my all my wires together in my Jeep.
And here I was expecting something like, oh yeah, we were dumb kids that went and got it stuck in the mud.
So Jeff,
Oh,
I got
Yeah, I don't play around in the mud.
Yeah.
So Jeff, got 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
One of them being, are those Rusty's shocks in the front of your Jeep?
Yeah.
Do you like them?
I do. I like them better than Bilstein's. I don't know if I am in love with them.
Okay, good to know, because it was something I was considering. And my second question now is, why Trepadors? Because we have this little thing.
I forgot you have 40 radial treps.
So we have this thing where we all are very excited about our tire brand that we prefer.
Uh-huh.
So I'm curious, and also Matt can fill in on what he feels on his specific tire preference. But what's with the traps?
I like the look of Treps, number one. That's not the reason, though. The reason why I got those tires is because I was price
That is the
shopping
main
because
reason.
I'm cheap. I am the cheapest person in the world, and I found a set on eBay for $1,000 for a set of 4.
Wow.
Free shipping.
Wow.
And I was like, there's no way this is possible, blah, 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 looking on Simple Tire, everything. So I called, I found the shipper where they're coming from, and it said it was like a big tire manufacturer. I mean, a big tire supplier out in, I forget where it was, somewhere in like Arkansas or something. And I looked up the town that they were from and found that there was only one tire shop in that town. Called that tire shop and said, you wouldn't be selling 40-inch trips on eBay, would you? And they're like, yeah. I was like, are they really this much money? They're like, yeah. They're a year old, and they've been sitting in our warehouse, and nobody wants them, and we need to get rid of them, or else we can't order more from the supplier. I'm like, okay. Is there anything wrong with them? Absolutely not. They're brand new, blah, 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 nothing wrong with them. I was like, okay. So can I order them? And they're like, yeah, but let me check. And they said they only had 3.
Oh,
So I was
Jesus.
like, okay. So I was like, well, could you get me a 4th? They were like, we can't get you a 4th for under $600. So I was like, you got it.
Holy shit.
So I said, screw it. Just let me buy the 3. How much for the 3? They were like $7.90 shipped. I was like, no problem. I'll take the 3. So I took
Wow.
the 3, and I found Simple Tire with a deal. I bought a tire for $480, and still, for a set of 40s, I made out like a bandit. They were $1,200.
That's pretty fucking good.
So that's
Not
and
only
I like the style of Treps. And the funniest thing is when I ordered it from Simple Tire, they sent me the wrong tire. They sent me a competition tire.
Oh.
And I called them up, and I'm like, you sent me the wrong tire, but if you could send me 3 more of those for the same price, I'll take them. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, I need the right tire then. They're like, okay. And they got the woman got super serious on the phone. She's like, don't touch the tire. There's a FedEx person coming tomorrow to pick it up. I'm like, yeah, well, you just sent me a $1,000 tire for $400.
Should have sold it. You should have kept it and sold
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly.
Bad on you for being a good person, you know?
Mhm. Well, I wanted my tires to match, number one.
Yeah.
True.
So,
But I do really like the radial traps. In my book, I ran them for about a season or so, and they straight fucked.
oh, they work great. I really like it, and it seems like it works. It stays on the street. It's not disappearing
Yeah.
on the street. So.
They're pretty good. When they get low tread, they get a little squirrely, but nothing like some of the other shitty tires I've had.
Cool. Yeah, I'm not really brand dominant. I've had a bunch of different style tires, and I just want to try something different every time. I haven't found something where I'm like, oh, this is the best tire ever made.
Mhm.
Everything always has its low points.
Yeah.
I run my
Grabbers.
Nittos, and I like them, but they don't bulge enough. They're a very stiff carcass, but I think I have K specs because they've got a little K stamped in the sidewall that's like embossed. It's kind of, I don't know. But whatever. That's besides the point. Fucking, they just don't bulge. The traps, I liked them, but they bulged too much. So it was one of those, but they found traction everywhere.
Yeah, and that's what it seems like, and I'm happy with them so far. But it's not like I'm gonna tell everyone you gotta buy Treps or you're playing yourself.
Well, they might be.
Maybe.
I don't know. Okay.
Proved a point.
But yeah, I don't know. The Treps have been, for me, I've liked them a lot. I had a set of General Grabbers that Cody's been raving about, and those are really good tires too. I think
They're still really good tires.
I don't know. I haven't run a tire that I said this sucks. Like I don't know about you guys. What do you think is the worst tire? I guess like that you've ever run.
Tracks.
Yeah.
Really?
You look at them funny, and the sidewall blows out.
Huh. I've heard really great things about the Duratrax. They don't last super long, like if you run them on the road at kind of a lower PSI.
They're a great tire. They work great. But seriously, at Roush, I've eaten a sidewall too many times. Just on rocks. It rubs up against the sidewall, and I'm like, oh, there goes the sidewall.
See, I think for me personally, it was the IROX. Like after, I thought they were great when I had them, but then once I got an actual like new tire, granted my Jeep's light, and second, it was also a fucking 15-year-old tire, so it didn't squish anymore. It's gone through its heat cycles. It's pretty spanked compared to most tires. But I
but
don't
see,
know.
there's a place for IROCs because my spare 36 IROC that I run when I blow up a Trep has never failed me, and I beat the shit out of that thing, and it grips just as good as the Treps. So I can't knock it. Yes.
Well, actually, no, I lied. I forgot. I had a set of military 37s, those Humvee tires.
Yep.
Those are trash.
My God.
Well, I think that's just everybody knows that those suck.
Yeah,
They're
of
just
course.
cheap, right?
Cheap as hell, and nobody listens to anyone. And they're like, no, they'll be fine. Ran them at
and then they're not
3 psi on beadlocks, and they didn't flex for anything. But I did keep one as a spare, and that's my ultimate spare. I call it because I feel like that thing will last forever.
Yeah, that's how I feel about my IROC. Like I don't know what I run for tire pressure in it, but it's nothing crazy. I don't air it down or air it up. It just sits in the back of the Jeep.
Exactly, as long as it holds the bead.
Yeah, and I've driven it on the highway too. It's sketchy, but it does work. And I slammed that thing into rocks harder than I would a Trep, and it just it'll flex, but it always comes back. It doesn't pop or nothing. It's always been good. So
absolutely,
there's something to be said about having the that odd spare that doesn't make sense, and even if it's a shitty tire that just holds on.
It's an XJ thing.
Speaking of spares, Mark, our guest in our last episode, he posted on one of the Jeep pages saying he's like, hey, I got these 4 tires, like they're pretty shot, but like $50 a tire, come and get them. So I hit him up and I'm like, hey, are you willing to separate them, like sell 2? He goes, you know what? I'll give you all 4 for the price of 2. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like, $100, awesome. He goes, give me $25. Come pick them up. They're yours. I'm like,
Huh.
I'll give you 30. You know, like I'll give you
Yeah, like you're negotiating yourself, pal. Like
he was like, I was like, that's fucking awesome. Thank you, man. And I'm like, you know what? I'm like, what do you like for beer? I'm getting you some beer. When I come and pick them up, so luckily now me and the girlfriend will have spares, and I'll probably be giving like one away to like the club, like I don't know, giving it to one of the other guys in the club that has a 35. So that way, you know, helping out, because it sucks to go and buy a tire that you know you're never going to use, or not never going to use, but you're not going to use it enough that it's like, oh, I'm going to spend good money on it. So maybe one of the other guys maybe will enjoy it.
What kind of tires were they?
They are a KM2, so they're not great, but
Okay.
they will work well.
They're not bad. They're
No,
just
yeah, they're not a phenomenal tire, but I mean, it's a spare. It doesn't have to do the greatest thing in the world.
I mean, a KM2 is not a bad tire. Don't get me wrong. It's just not.
No, I'm running a KM2 right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, wait a minute. That's a good good brand. They make good shit. I wouldn't.
They're good tires, but when it's wet, it's not a good tire.
Yep.
Huh. That's good to know.
I find the muddy, or like just even like slippery rocks, wet rocks, it does all right if you air down enough.
he couldn't do shoot the moon when it was wet.
Shut up, Jeff.
So
I wonder. No, sorry to cut you off.
you're
Cody.
good. You're good.
I wonder if the KM3s, they added more sipes on those. I wonder if that helps at all. I don't know.
I don't know.
Too
It's
much
like the same lug pattern.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Man, they might just need to move away from that. It looks cool.
Yeah.
It's a cool looking.
It is a good tire. Honestly, I'm happy with them.
They ride
I'm
well on
not,
the
like,
road. I had
upset.
them. I had a 33, a set of 33s for a while.
It just seems like the lug pattern just locks the mud in and it turns it into like a banana peel.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty
I'm
much. Like it's just
interested
one big slick.
In Mickey Thompson's response to the MTR. I don't know if I haven't heard much about it.
The Baja Boss.
Yes.
Yeah, like
I'm really curious to see
I don't know.
see how that compares, because it looks like it's a little bit more of an aggressive, like,
Yeah.
I guess mud style tire rather than like a rock style tire, but I'm interested.
I really want to try them in a sticky. I feel like they would be a lot of fun to play with in a sticky.
Mm-hmm.
I want to try
and
any
they're
tire in a
cheap.
sticky.
I picked up a set of red labels for pretty cheap from a dude out of New Jersey, I think. But yeah, they were like $200 a tire, so I couldn't quite say no.
Yeah. Yeah,
Respect.
that's pretty
It's
good.
fine.
Yeah,
That's
well,
so
they're
true.
red labels.
Yeah, true. They work better when they have no more tread.
Because that's my thing is like, what am I gonna bump up to? Because I can rant and rave about the general grabbers all I want, but guess what? They don't come in a 40 and they don't come in a sticky, unless I somehow get one from a used, like a race team that has them just like messed up and sitting in the side of their shop. But it's not
Do
a
they
general.
make-
Nope, they do not
Do they
make a.
They don't make
Pardon?
Do they make a 37?
They make a 37, but I mean, why would I go to a 37? You know, as
Well,
as
I mean,
Jeff
it's-
said, if you can get a 40, get a 40. You know, like
40s and tons, have more fun.
Hey,
You
there
gotta go.
I don't
bigger.
know. I follow guys
Gotta
with
go bigger.
42s through
See,
most stuff.
Yeah.
like
On
42s
37s,
can't
right?
lose.
It's all about the driver, not about the tire size.
It's the drive
It's the
train. It's not
compensation.
the driver. It's all about the drivetrain and the suspension.
Fair.
bit of both, I'd say. Maybe a little mix of everything.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you guys didn't look like a stock drive shaft under that. What's your wheelbase, and kind of what did you decide to go for a drive shaft in the Turbo Cherokee?
My wheelbase is around 119, 118. I think stock is 102, 105.
Yeah, that's way long.
That's a bit. Those
So
are big
the
stretch.
front's like 10.
When are you gonna wheel this
but
thing?
it's front and back. It's not just. It's
You're
coming.
telling me, dude.
You don't think I want to drive it? Come on.
I'm sure you do.
But yeah,
Let's get it moving.
I'm dying over here.
Hurry up.
I'm working on it. But yeah, it's like, I'd say it's roughly like 17 inches of stretch total.
holy
Yeah.
shit.
The
Jesus
front drive
Christ.
shaft is custom. Oh, just so happens the Cherokee front drive shaft is 2-inch diameter, outer diameter, and rough stuff like lower suspension links are 2-inch pieces of DOM.
Mm-hmm.
So I had some leftover DOM drive shaft with the same diameter, so I just extended my front drive shaft with that. And I can because I have lockout hubs.
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about the front end spinning, Yep. So, is it balanced? Yeah, sure.
It's close
Hey,
enough.
I feel that.
My
Off-road?
standards.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So now what are you waiting on to go off roading?
I really have to finish everything. Like, I got a lot of fab work to do. I've been working on I did the cage. Cage is pretty much done. I got to finish the interior. It's all custom interior and stuff. I'm making inner fender wells for the front. I nose the front, so I got to make fenders and all that fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just like final work, pretty much. The chassis done.
Yeah.
Everything else I got to do.
Yeah, that right there is one of the longest parts of a build because it's like right now I'm looking at how I want to French
Absolutely.
my fucking taillights in, and that right there
Mm-hmm.
is going to take quite a bit of time unless I just fucking throw them together to get it wheeling. Which,
yeah, and
let's
that's
be
where
real.
I'm at. Like, do I just slap it together or do I take the time? And at this point, I've taken all this time already.
Yeah, you
I'm
might
going
as
to
well
take the time
continue
and do
to
it the
take
way
your
I
time.
want it.
Yep.
So
I wanna
I'm
be
in
happy
the
with it. I don't-
opposite camp. I'm just going to throw it together.
Yeah,
No, I get it.
I
I've been there. I get it.
I can respect taking your time on like the last bit, even though it does take a little longer. I had when I always come back to when I was done with the 1-ton swap. Like I could drive it, right? It had a shitty-ish steering setup. It wasn't great, but it did drive. It was done, right? And I spent probably like 2 months just here and there getting the final details, getting the steering worked out so it was actually good, and a few other little things, and it just took forever because it was done. I'd done the hard work, and now it was just the details. It just took me so much longer.
Yeah, the final details. But like when I finished my 1-ton swap, all I could think about was the stuff I still wanted to do, and I kind of rushed my 1-ton swap. So it was, my long arms weren't ideal. They weren't long enough. I put them where I wanted to, where it was easiest to put them, not where they really should be.
I
Stuff
have
like that.
to ask, as a nerd, what are you running for front suspension
we're all
setups?
So I'm running rough stuff bent lower control arms, like high clearance lower control arms, which are home. It just comes a piece of DOM. You cut it, you weld in the inserts for the Heims, and then it's just a 3-link, so 2 lower arms, a third upper link on the passenger side, and then FOA 14-inch travel coilovers, and that's pretty much it.
Nice.
What do you think about the FOAs?
rear.
Sorry to interrupt between you and Jeff.
Fucked on arrival.
Yeah, they were good for a year. To be honest, I ran them without any nitrogen in them for a little while, so
Argon.
that probably wasn't too. Well, yeah, I put some argon in, but people say it works. I tried it. Whatever.
Did it work?
But
Yeah.
yeah, it worked.
Who
It worked
cares?
for a little bit. But this winter, on our way to the dyno, I noticed on the trailer there's a pool of oil under one of the shocks, and seals out. And then a couple months later, the other shock went, and this is just sitting in my garage. So I'm not too thrilled on that. I'm gonna rebuild them. Hopefully, they can stay sealed up for a year or two. But I'm not too thrilled. I should have spent the money on Kings. If that answers your question.
I bought a set of
That's what he was fishing for. I'm sure.
yeah, I grabbed a set of what the fuck are they? They are Pro Fenders from Chad. So I'm giving them a shot.
Nice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, maybe it's just my foolishness that blew the seals out.
Yeah, maybe
I
the
don't know,
shaft
honest
was a
with you.
little
A lot of
rusty
people have had problems with them.
Yeah, absolutely. But the thing, the
A buddy
Jeep
of mine
did sit
bought
a
a
little
set
while.
that needed to be rebuilt. Yeah, that it did. Probably a year or two.
So, maybe when the shafts moved, they had a little corrosion on them, and it ruined the seal immediately. But They shouldn't
Blew
have
out
done
the
that
seals.
anyway.
Yeah, or it was just a shitty seal.
This seals
Mhm.
this seal should survive a bit longer than just that. I mean, I would
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
come from riding dirt bikes, like the
Exactly.
brunt of everything is it's in the front, and they last to a certain degree. So, oof, that was
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And the reason why Luke asked you about them was just so that way he could talk smack without he made you talk the shit first, so that way he could tag along.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Don't
all
worry,
right.
we
That's
don't
all
get
right. You can talk
offended.
shit all you want. I love it.
Yeah, you can talk shit all you want.
I don't care. I like what I like, and that's it. If you don't like it, I don't care.
And I
respect that.
appreciate that attitude because I come from the school of cheap coilovers with a welded rear axle and an auto
Yeah.
locker front, and I don't give a
Mhm.
fuck.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If
It
you,
does. It
you like
doesn't
it, if
matter.
it works for you,
It's
that's
like,
it. Like,
if it works for you,
It
if you're
doesn't-
happy with what it is, what does it matter? You know,
Honestly,
someone
and
else.
if I were to do it again, I wouldn't change it. I'm okay with it.
Hmm.
I get that. It works.
You
If
wouldn't,
It
you
works
wouldn't
in the
change
it ain't
woods.
broke, don't fix it.
not your 3-link bracket.
I would change
Nothing?
the 3-link bracket, but
You've been
honestly,
bitching about that forever. That was flexing even like when you first had it. You were complaining.
yeah, I would change that, but as far as the rig goes itself for its capabilities, no, I wouldn't change it. I like what it does. Fixing the 3-link bracket, yeah, that was me being
how did you
fucked.
run your
So
how did you run your 3-link bracket? I'm just curious.
there's 2 quarter-inch
Like, what was wrong
pieces
with
of
it?
plate that go off of my unibody into my cross member, and they flex under
Yeah,
load.
the way it's mounted to the frame and the way his upper bracket was mounted, it put a ton of leverage on that. Just that.
Yeah.
Was it 3/4 inch? No, not 3/4. Was it 3/8?
Was it?
It's quarter.
Is it all like?
It was quarter.
Is it all part of your lower control arms coming off of your cross member?
Yes, my lower control arms come off the cross member, and then I have my 3-link mount, which is mounted pretty far into the unibody. To give you an idea, it sits above the stock seat bolt. Inside of the
so
frame rail.
It's up in the fucking floor.
So all the leverage is on that
Yeah.
quarter-inch plate, so it just goes and just
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
mount
That's
the
okay.
brackets straight to the unibody. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate those cross members, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I could do it again, I
What?
would have added a tie-in to the unibody before I even started, but now I'm adding a tie-in to the unibody, and oh well, I fucked up.
It's funny.
Yeah, oh yeah, I've been there.
I've been sitting here, and it's like me and Richie are like the 2 kids at the adult table. We don't have much to say. We're just acting like, "What's that? What's that?" And it's funny. I just texted him. I'm like, "It's like we're just sitting here, just listening, smiling."
everyone's
Sorry.
on their own path, you know. What does it matter?
Well, I mean, you guys are doing cool shit, but this is a good episode for you guys to pick up some tidbits for when you do your 1-ton swap, Cody, and when Kish does his swap.
Fuck the
Well, yeah.
one-tons.
Yeah, learn
Fuck 'em.
from everyone else's fuck ups.
Yeah,
Don't put
I'm-
your lower
One
links
tons
on
are garbage. You don't want them.
Dude,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, skip
having
it. Go
fun.
straight to Rockwell's.
No, I'm having fun on my little
Just
action
rip
right
the
now.
Cherokee in half.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun. I'm having fun on the 35s. I'm enjoying where the Jeep's at right now. So tons aren't on the immediate. Granted, I have the 14 bolt still sitting in the back of my truck, but still, I'm not pushing and rushing to go and do that. I'd rather, just keep doing.
Yeah, but definitely do it though.
Oh, I
It's
will.
worth it.
I will at some point. I mean, I'm just saying, like, right this
When
second.
he blows all of his axles up, there's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
6 Luke shop that has his name on it for like
Uh-huh.
300.
Yeah, it's like no offense to any Dana 30 guys, but the amount of times that we go wheeling with people and it's like, oh, snapped another shaft. Oh, let me grab one, throw it in. 5 minutes later, you got a new shaft, and it's like, don't you ever get sick of doing that?
No, it's half the fun. It's half the fun, especially when you're running around
I
with like
guess.
JK guys where they're just like,
Uh-huh.
what the fuck? These fucking animals
Yeah,
just
yeah,
breaking
yeah,
stuff. And you're
yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
hold
just
on.
fixing it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Except for it's nice to have.
See, I like running. Oh yeah. Gotta have an impact with you.
Oh yeah.
That's like
No, all
that's a
hand
staple
tools.
right
All
there.
hand tools. Get out of here with that power.
Yeah, well, was any impact.
Okay, you can go back to the Amish reserve.
Jeff and I like to bring a welder.
So
Yeah,
I-
we
Sorry.
no worries. Yeah, we bring welder, generator, angle grinders, you name it.
I used to build the whole rig again.
There was one time actually we were at the what is it? I forget what hotel it was. At Roush, and we're in the parking lot, we're having beer, and this guy from Canada is walking around asking everyone, "Does anyone know a welder?" We're like, we have a welder. He's like, "Does anyone know anyone with a lower control arm brackets for Dana 30?" And my friend goes into his Jeep, grabs the brackets, and goes, "Which one do you need? The drivers or the passengers?" And he's like, "Holy shit." I'm like, "Yeah, so are we doing it here tonight?" He's like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, we have an angle grinder, everything you need." He's like, "Okay." I'm like, "You
That's
prep
awesome.
it, we weld." So we did that. We saved the guy's night. You know, he drove 8 hours or 10 hours from Canada to get there, and we saved his weekend. And it was awesome, you know?
Hey,
I had a lot
man.
of fun.
Awesome.
It
I
made our
give
night,
you-
too. It gave us something to do other than drink beer.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I give you props on that because I wholeheartedly respect the "you prep it, we do it" attitude, because that's my attitude with helping out fucking Kish and Cody.
Uh-huh.
You prep it, I make it happen, Captain.
Yep.
Yeah, and
But,
that's,
you know,
that's what I tell Jeff, really, like, with all the stuff I weld for him, like, and he's starting to learn how to weld himself, but that's why I tell him, like, you do the prep work, I'll weld it, but you got to learn, like, as you start to learn to weld, you learn what you want prepped, how you want it prepped, and a good way to figure it out.
See, that's
Oh,
the
you-
one thing I really
Sorry.
respect about Luke too, is it was always like, if he knew it wasn't something crucial, he's like, why the fuck am I welding it? Yeah, I know you don't know how to weld, but you're doing it. Just
Yeah.
wiggle your hands and make it work.
Mhm.
But if it's like, when I was
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
stiffeners, he like marked out a section. He marked out like a foot section where he's like, this is where your cross member is gonna go. Don't fucking touch it. He was like,
Yeah.
he was like,
Yeah.
I'm doing this part. I go, I appreciate that. And started crying as I crawled back under the Jeep to do it. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but you realize, you know, sometimes you just got to know your place and have your friends pick up the slack.
But at the same time, it was like I had him tack he's got a very built Dana 30. Like, all the brackets have been replaced. So I had him tack all the brackets in place, do all the measurements, and taught him that method of doing everything. And then I flipped the helmet down, grabbed a funny cigarette, and got to work.
Some of
The
those
jazz
jazz cigarette.
Some jazz cabbage.
Hey, man, you need some jazz cabbage before you can get to swing dancing that welder.
Of course.
Yeah, that's a
Steady
key
hand.
to a good build. Steady hand, steady mind.
I'm abysmal on a welder. I mean, I try my best, but good God, it just comes out horrible every time. I mean, not horrible, but it looks like Stevie Wonder's guide dog taught me how to weld.
Have you
Like,
seen my
that's the
fucking
level.
roll cage?
And see, you guys have seen mine from the video, but wait till you see it in person. It's not pretty.
Hey, man,
Well, that's
all
part
I'm
about
It's
saying
nothing
is
special.
Roush Bash 2021 is gonna be a good fucking time. Or what was it? I'm sorry. It was something ball. Web Wheeler's Ball was the name of it last year. So
Perfect.
It's a 2, now it's 3.
Oh, that sounds like a
Web Wheeler
blast.
3.
That or
3.3.
Badlands. I know Badlands is a little bit further of a ride for them, but that's always a good weekend. Badlands is a fun
Yeah,
time for sure.
but it's the same drive to Roush, so it's not that bad for us if you compare it. Like, I'm saying it's 6 hours for us to get to Roush. We meet them down there. They come up to Badlands.
Huh.
Life's good.
Where's Badlands?
Badlands
Vermont.
is in Rutland,
Isn't
Vermont.
Badlands in like Iowa?
Oh, that's not that far from us.
Oh, it's in Vermont.
Yeah, there's two different.
Oh,
Badlands.
yeah, not a problem. Not a problem.
It's a good time, especially if you like to drink beer and wake up in the morning hungover and go and wheel Jeeps.
Yeah, pretty much. You
That's just how
You
you
got
do
my
it.
attention.
second weekend in July usually.
Yeah. I didn't think there was another way to do it.
But it's the second weekend in July, and it's such a fun weekend. We all get up there. You pretty much, as he said, you drink some beer, you camp out on top of a mountain, you wake up, you stretch, you piss on the fire, and then you hop in the Jeep and go. It's sick.
And great views, like absolute killer.
Yeah, it's gorgeous up there.
Except
Yeah,
for
Rutland's about 3.5 hours from us, so that's not
that's
bad.
not bad at all. Shit, you guys are getting off easy.
No.
Damn.
Yeah.
Graham drives that just to get to Richie's house.
That's another one that might be entertaining to have you guys at, because that property eats people up and spits them out.
It sounds like you guys
I'm
are
ready
only
for
like 2 hours away.
From
From
Connecticut.
From Connecticut.
Oh yeah. We're in North Jersey.
Oh,
We're like 40 minutes from Danbury.
Okay.
So
I don't know where that is.
Connecticut.
It's
It's,
like the first part of Connecticut that you drive.
Yeah.
I figured.
it's like where the highway splits
Oh, okay.
off.
Mhm.
So from there, yeah, it's not a bad drive.
How far are you from New York City?
Probably 2
About an
hours.
Okay. We live 15 minutes from the city.
We're,
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that's like a
Unfortunately.
day drive. You can come for. Yeah, you definitely get.
Cars and coffee.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pushing
Jeeps
to
and
have
jazz cigarettes.
something maybe at the end of May.
Ooh. Well, Turbo Jeep might not be there, but
oh, whoa.
That's his goal. May is his goal. So we'll see.
All right.
That's good. That's a fair goal.
At
Yeah,
the
he
May,
wants
we'll
it for
go
the
a
summer.
shakedown.
Hey, that's my goal too. So.
We're gonna see how the Jersey cops like that thing.
Oh,
So
they're
wait.
gonna love it.
Bro, you got an IDI tow rig. You're fucking mint.
No, Jeff has.
Yeah, it'll
No,
last-
that's not the tow rig. That's not the tow rig.
Well, fucking
can't
Matt's
handle
got
it.
a goddamn fucking 6.7, so he better be able to just set the cruise control and go.
Yep.
Yeah.
We just need a
that's the
trailer
plan.
big enough for both of us.
Hey man, if I can set the cruise control and go with a 6.2, with a 6.7, you better be able to.
At least
Oh,
it's
I
not
can,
that,
but
at least
it's
2.5
boring.
is not that bad. That you could like rent a U-Haul truck and trailer for like $200 and make it for like the
Exactly.
weekend.
No.
So at least that's not that bad. Or if you're doing it like a
No.
weekend,
Usually
dude.
we have a car trailer. Usually we just rent a U-Haul trailer. It's $50 a day. Whoop-de-doo. It's not the end of the world.
Nah, that's worth it for
You know.
sure. It just takes that ease, like the ease of mind, where you're just like, all right, fuck it, I can
Exactly.
bring it out of trailer,
Yeah.
take it, like, and bring
And
it home on a
yes,
trailer.
1-ton Cherokees fit on U-Haul trailers.
How?
They just you just drive over and it goes.
So you get the warranties, that you're saying, the little insurance.
Sure.
Well, the fenders come off on the U-Haul trailers.
Yeah, you just ride over them. You go straight. You just rub the rails. And you just, it's a good time.
Well, that is good to know.
All right. I also have to ask. Hurst shifter on the AX15.
Ooh.
I watched the video and you guys are praising it. How good actually is it compared to
Seriously,
like a regular
it'll
one?
it'll change your
seriously,
life. It'll change
Is
your
it
life.
worth
It'll
the
change
money?
your life.
Because it's not. It's
Oh
like
my
kind of
God.
It'll change
spendy.
your life.
Yeah, it's like stupid expensive for what
Yeah.
it is.
What is it?
The Hurst shifter.
It's like
for an
$300.
AX15. It's a $300 shifter for
Is
a
it?
tractor transmission.
It is so worth it. It's not even funny.
Oh,
Okay.
it's
Yeah, but it makes it feel like a NASCAR transmission. It's worth it.
Huh.
Nice.
I can
Sure.
respect
Do
that,
it.
but at the same time, I'm looking at putting an SM465 in my Jeep, so it's like, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
You might have
that's
convinced
no
me with that
fun.
video, honestly. I do just fine with my shitty shifter, but I don't know.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's
It would definitely
it's life
help.
changing. I'm telling you.
Yeah. especially in
It
like
is,
some of
it
the
is.
shitty situations you get yourself into where shifting is kind of important. I can see that being worth its weight in gold.
Well, I ordered it because I am deciding that I want to see how long the AX15 lasts behind the 4.8. I have an adapter plate,
Yeah.
so I'm committed, just like with the 44. And I want to see,
Well,
what's going to be the weak point. Is it
Well,
going to be
at the same
the
time,
1310U joints?
I feel like
yeah.
with the RCVs and having the fucking 4.8 and the AX15, it's like you're not overbuilding to a certain point. If you were to put a hot
Exactly.
6-liter behind it with like fucking,
Yeah.
a set of pistons, a cam,
hmm
headers, and
No.
all of that.
Then that'd be too much. But
No, I'm hoping to make 300 to the wheels, maybe 350. My brother's making 300 to the wheels in the turbo Jeep, and the AX15 handles it no problem. So why can't I have an LS with that same horsepower range?
mhm.
So
Have
now,
the AX15 handle it?
to somebody with an automatic transmission, would you still suggest the turbo idea, or not?
Not unless you're prepared to explore other automatics.
Okay, probably not. So I'd probably
Um,
be switching to an X15 at that point.
It's an easy
well,
swap. It's so worth
it's an
it.
easy swap, but the AX15 isn't like a monster horsepower trans. It has its
No.
limits too.
Yeah, but I mean,
No one
300,
really
300 horsepower and a little bit of spoolie noises is just all I need. Just enough to give a
exactly.
little something, give a little zest as you're ripping up a rock, and everybody's like, "Ooh, what's that?" Like, that's all I need. Just a little bit of.
Yeah.
And
AX15 is strong enough. Like I could spin 37s. Like if I dump the clutch and floor it, I'll spin my tires. So the AX15 can handle a beefy drivetrain. It can push it.
Yep.
I don't know how far I'd go with it, but
AW4 is a great trans. I know a lot of people. If you're not afraid to do custom stuff, it's basically the same automatic trans that went behind 2JZ Supras. So you can build a.
What,
Yeah,
you mean
so
the
you can build a.
CD09 or?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you can build the piss out of them.
So there's the CD09, which is like the average swap that you'd get out of like a 350Z. But then I do know what you're saying for the 2JZs. They actually like the proper super ones. That those are strong as fuck too, but they are spendy for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I know a lot of people source parts from them and make them work in the AW4 to build them.
Huh.
But most people just do a turbo 350 or a turbo 400 at that point because it's so common.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to know. Actually, and
it's cheap as hell to find a turbo 350 or turbo 400. Or you could do a 4L80 or a 4L60 too if you're, if you don't mind running a standalone trans controller.
Huh. But good knowledge to know.
How much do you love the auto life?
Exactly. I love manuals too much. I wheeled with an auto at first, and then my brother with the AX15 and with the tons. I drove it at Roush for a little bit, and I was like, I'm never going back to an auto.
Once you swap and you get like used to it, it's so much.
It's a little more challenging, but at the same time, that's what I like about rock crawling. It's a personal challenge. It's you're not.
I totally agree with that.
You're competing against your rig and yourself.
Yep.
Obviously there's some friendly competition with your buddies, but at the end of the day, it's you brought something that you personally put together, and you're fighting. You're making it do something that it's not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair. I mean, I'm not super partial to the automatic life. It's just what I currently have in the Jeep. So it's just
of course.
It's
exactly,
and I love driving standard. I absolutely love it. So I'm not against the idea. Even though Luke spews his horror stories of doing his, he thought it was the most annoying thing. But
it sucks. The swap on the pedals is an absolute nightmare, and I wouldn't do it unless the donor falls into your lap with all the parts to do it. Right.
Absolutely.
It's probably not worth it. But if you do happen to find one, for me, it was a piece of shit 89 Cherokee it happened to have an AX-15. Shitty, wrong style pedals, but I made them work after a lot of iterations of tweaking. Did Luke's
I know
come?
your pain.
Yeah, it's what did you have to swap it or?
No,
what did you end up doing?
it's an 89 Cherokee
Okay.
with an AX-15, but I put a new style master in. It's a completely different brake pedal, completely different everything. So like I made everything work.
Okay,
And then the pedal was like 6 feet higher than all the other pedals, the brake pedal where it's set. So I cut it down and I welded it straight down instead, and it works.
Yeah, mine. I don't know. Are the pedals on yours closer?
Oh, it's so annoying how close they are. And when I welded it, I moved it over and fixed everything. And I was so happy.
Ridiculous.
On the later styles, they spaced them out more, so you can have a normal foot and actually touch them. I haven't messed with mine. It's like they'd be in an 89 Cherokee, and it sucked at first. Once I got used to it,
it's a nightmare.
It wasn't horrible. I've got small feet.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
but you
small.
know, like if you have big boots on or something.
Oh yeah, it sucked.
You'll go there, hit the clutch or whatever, and just boom.
I remember the one time that you let me drive your Jeep while you were down at my house. Fucking every time I went to hit the gas, I'd fucking stomp the brake every fucking time.
Yep. No, I love it. For me, it's like one of those. It's another barrier to being able to drive my stupid Jeep. It's set up for me. I'm only like 5'9", 5'8", depending on how much I'm slouching, and then my seat's kind of close in because I don't like being super close like grandma, but I'm pretty close to my wheel because I don't know, it's just how I've always driven.
Race car.
So with Luke or somebody who's like 6'0" and taller, they just can't drive it. Like I brought it to tire places and they'd be like, "Yeah, I just backed it out because I couldn't drive it." I was like, "Cool." It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's an annoyance
another
factor.
barrier to not have people take your shit.
No, I know it's you got to be.
They can't fucking
exactly
hit
like
the pedals.
me.
They can't fit.
No, I love
Theft protection.
But I don't think I had to. My brackets for the pedals, I didn't have to do any crazy. The hardest part for me has and still continues, to some extent. It's way more rigid than it used to be, but I had to cut some of the back brackets off, and then I had to relocate the that brake light switch, and it still does some funky shit.
Yeah, I have to play with it every so often. During the YouTube video that we were making for daily driving that Jeep, we got out and stopped, and my friend's like, "Your brake lights don't work." I'm like, "Oh, give me a second. Let me go play with it."
So I had to do the same thing.
Like, your brake lights are stuck on. You get it there, you wiggle it, or you pull the little nipple back out.
Yeah, exactly.
For me,
it's like you said, I had to like shave down the pin to, not the pin, like where the master cylinder shaft to make that thing fit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're definitely fighting at like different ends of the spectrum. Like for me,
exactly.
Did you do?
Because you put the older in the newer. I'm putting newer and older.
Did you swap out the internal slave, or do you still have an internal slave on it?
I have an internal slave, but with the LS swap, it creates an external slave, and the adapter is completely different. So, I was gonna do the external slave swap or whatever.
But then with the motor stuff, you decided not to.
But with the motor stuff, it's already doing it. So.
Yeah, it's to do it by itself. I would never do it again. You have to get a different, basically the shaft piece, the plate that goes over the input shaft. You have to get the slider for the throw-up bearing. That sucked.
I have all that stuff for the LS.
It was such a pain in the ass, and it was like getting those parts. Some of them, like finding the bell housing. For me, I mean, I got one. It was relatively cheap, but the bell housing was in like, I saw a picture of it from the good side. The bad side looks like shit. It hasn't broken yet, but it's one of those deals where I'd rather just get one that was external slave, and I would have spent as much money as I did swapping it over. But it's for me, the internal slave just I could never get it to bleed right. I never had the right pedal feel.
The only way I've gotten that to bleed right is I let it gravity bleed for a little bit, and then I let the cap open for a day, and the pedal felt great, and that was it.
Damn. Yeah.
But they're nightmares, like you said.
Yeah.
I remember when I first got the Jeep, just had no clutch whatsoever.
Yep.
And I thought the clutch was going, and I tried bleeding it, and then one day I'm like, let me just try gravity bleeding it for a minute,
and then
let
just
it dribble out, and let it sit, and then pedal felt great, and I'm like, awesome. Not touching it.
I can't really fault you there.
Yeah. The shitty thing with the new style, I don't know. I don't remember how the old one runs. I think it's just it must not go above. But the new style where it's like it's a single unit where you just bolt it in one side, bolt it in the other side. Well, the idiots designed it so it goes over the master cylinder. Either that or I'm an idiot and I'm putting it over the master cylinder.
I know exactly
the line sits higher than the reservoir, so you get this bubble in the line, and you can never get it out. So. Yeah, that's what I'm dealing with currently. So if I have no pedal, I have to pump it for a couple minutes and then it comes back. It usually happens when I'm driving on the highway and try to get off the highway, and then I have to pull over and pump my pedal.
Try to use like a vacuum bleeder and try to suck it through the master, so it pulls that air out.
Or you could just buy the fancy Willwood pedal box with the master already in it.
Yeah, I could
only
do that.
It's only a couple grand,
I think I'll stick with my $100 auto.
Just for a couple masters. Yeah. I hear you.
Cool. Well, I think we're almost at the 2-hour mark here.
Yeah.
Do you have any
final thoughts, or you guys want to cut it here? This has been a hoot,
this has been a riot.
if you will.
This one's been a lot of fun. We haven't done this one long.
Yeah, had a lot of fun.
in a
while, actually. It's
been in a few months, I'd say.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It's been great having you guys
Thanks for having us
on.
on. I had a great time.
It was our first podcast. We're podcast versions.
And make sure anybody who's listening to the podcast, you guys go check out these guys on YouTube, Instagram, if you guys want to do a quick plug on your different social medias.
No, it doesn't matter. Thanks for the
Yeah, but what's the YouTube? Because that is worth watching.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Fun. I don't know how you guys have
Yeah, it's kind of funky.
You guys are a ton of fun to watch, and your builds are really unique. I was like when Luke first brought it up, I'm sorry, I'm gonna toot your horn a little bit here. Luke first brought it up, I was like, who are these dudes? Like, okay, and they had a red Cherokee that was on 40, so I was like, okay, but it's got 40-inch traps, like that's pretty cool. And then I started looking into more other stuff, and like, you guys do good work. Like, I don't know how you've only got, the viewership on your videos should be higher, in my opinion. You guys are doing like what every
thank you
Club XJ dude wants to do. So
yeah,
there are a lot of those dudes. Fun. So they should.
And, we try to be relatable.
Yeah.
Where my brother's Jeep is out there and it's insane, and I'm trying to do the 1-tons and 40s, but I'm trying to do it on the cheap side, and I'm trying to make it work right. I'm on radius arms; they're terrible, but it works.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna revise. I'm gonna go to a 3-link, but that to me is a good video to make.
It's
why
steps in the right
it's
direction.
content. It's steps in the right direction. So I just want I want to be relatable.
We just want to show. We want
that blue collar off-roader.
We want to show everybody that this stuff is so. You initially think that it's difficult to do and it's a big hurdle to get over, but everybody can do this stuff. And it's really not that hard. It's simple measurements and cutting and
that was
it's
kind
attainable.
of my thing.
It's easy to
just
do.
Take your time and work your way up to that harder stuff.
Exactly.
That's
Absolutely. Don't be afraid of it. Don't fear it.
Mm-hmm.
When I started
don't be afraid
the little
to get burned.
Yeah, when I started the little shithole shop that I have now, it was fucking, what, 5 years ago at this point now, Richie?
We started down in Nagi. What is it? It's 6 years ago.
So after that whole period, it was like, fuck it. If I can learn how to do this, anyone else can learn how to do this. They just need the push.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that was our mentality to start
without
learning.
a doubt, without a doubt.
Is watching other people on YouTube or watching people on TV on those entertainment
But
discovery
those guys aren't
shows.
real, right? You guys are. They've got movie magic. I feel like all your stuff is, and I think I watched one. You brought somebody else's Jeep in. You were like, you're just basically grilling all the work that was done on it previously.
Yeah, that thing was a
perfect,
shithole.
right? Yeah. So
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to show everybody that it's a one-ton
when
cherry.
you can
someone
avoid this,
brought the
like,
Jeep
slap
to
it
me,
together,
yeah.
I'm like, we need to record this because this
Yeah.
thing is insane how it was put together.
Yep.
Somebody drove it like that. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But,
Like just everything.
that's
The wheels in the
thing.
front were just
Yeah.
it's everything about the thing was just so like just made me cringe.
so
I
bad.
cannot believe the kid pulled it off the trailer and the front axle is rocking forwards and backwards 6 inches. And it's what is going on here?
We drove some sketchy stuff, but
Not
nothing
that
like
sketchy.
that, oh my god.
It's always nice to know
every
that there's
pivot
somebody
point.
who's.
Yeah, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I've done some
somebody doing
sketchy
shit
stuff,
than
but
you.
not this. So
Makes you
I
feel like
haven't been this bad.
you're the golden driver, right? You're compared to some of the shit boxes that are on the road.
Yeah.
Makes you feel better about some
It
of
helps you sleep helps you sleep at night. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
Alright, well, I feel like we managed to hit on a shit ton of fun stuff. Keep it a little on that rich side of the AFM, and take it easy, guys.
You
Yeah,
too.
have a great night. Thanks for everything.